PeaceTrees Vietnam is a strong believer that mine action involves much more than clearing contaminated land of unexploded landmines. Mine action includes providing mine risk education, helping the survivors of explosive accidents and their families, and engaging in community and economic development. PeaceTrees Vietnam has gradually expanded into all of these areas.
PeaceTrees Việt Nam là cái tổ chức phi chính phủ đầu tiên đến với Quảng Trị sau khi Mỹ và Việt Nam bình thường hóa quan hệ hợp tác. Tôi thấy rằng cái hợp tác với PeaceTrees là một cái hợp tác rất có hiệu quả. Các cái hoạt động của PeaceTrees không phải là lớn, nhưng mà nó rất là thiết thực, nó phù hợp với những cái mong muốn và đáp ứng được những cái yêu cầu của chúng tôi.
Over the last 15 years, PeaceTrees Vietnam has worked exclusively in Quang Tri province, one of the most war-torn provinces of Vietnam. It has become a successful model of the cooperation and healing process between the two peoples.
The basis of real friendship internationally is not government to government. The real basis of friendship is people to people. And I think it's organizations like PeaceTrees, through their work here in planting trees, through their work in giving scholarships, is one of the best ways that we can continue to build trust and confidence and friendship between our two countries.
I think the most successful thing that we have done is to build this bridge of friendship between the two peoples and to connect people. And then the clearance of the land and the commitment of the PeaceTrees board and all the staff to the future, the healthy future for the children here in Quang Tri province.
So far, the organization has helped clear over 48,000 landmines and pieces of UXO, cleaned almost 400 acres of contaminated land, and provided mine risk education to over 66,500 children and adults. More than 41,150 trees have been planted on safely cleared land. It has built 100 homes, 5 kindergartens, and 10 libraries.
What was the start, the initial steps to starting this organization?
Yes. On that day, July 11th, 1995, my husband and I were on an airplane in Berlin, Germany. And the flight attendant was distributing newspapers on the plane, and I picked up the Herald Tribune, and that headline said, U.S. normalizes with Vietnam. And that was such an extraordinary moment that I knew that in that tiny moment when diplomatic relations are restored, there's a kind of opening, that for people to move quickly to build bridges in that moment seemed extremely important. And my late husband and I had been working in a program that he named PeaceTrees, building bridges with teenagers around the world who had grown up in conflict zones. And we began speaking immediately about this. How could we take PeaceTrees to Vietnam? Could that be the vehicle for approaching the Vietnamese people? And by the end of the plane ride, by the time we were back to Seattle, we had decided that we were going to gather our most visionary friends together and propose the idea that as a small American NGO, which we had then, that was committed to building bridges around the world of friendship, that we would like to approach the Vietnamese people with the idea to build a bridge of trust and understanding, to reach out to the Vietnamese people by sponsoring clearance of landmines and unexploded munitions left from wartime. And then once the land was cleared and safe, to bring international volunteers, Americans, families, veterans, people who had lost family members in wartime, to plant trees together on the cleared land. On the day of November 12th, 1995, that evening, my late husband, Dana Perry, stepped on an airplane, and most Vietnamese friends laugh when they hear this. Without an invitation, he went to visit Ambassador Le Van Bang at the mission of Vietnam, which was not yet an embassy.
Exactly.
Because we had heard that there was going to be a reception where Americans could come and meet Ambassador Bang. He went to the embassy, or to the mission, And Lê Bang was actually standing at the door. And Dana, my late husband, who was a very, very tall person, went to the door and said, "Excuse me, I apologize for coming without an invitation, but may I introduce myself and tell you why we have come? We have this idea to propose clearing landmines and bombs with the Vietnamese people in a way to build a bridge of friendship and understanding." And Ambassador Lê Bang said, "Please, please, please come in. I will do everything I can to help you." And very shortly, we were here. Wow. We landed in Hanoi with the support of an American friend, Chuck Searcy, whom you probably know. We had met Chuck and heard from him that he would be very helpful and help us introduce us to the right, to the correct organizations and Vietnamese leaders. And that was the beginning. We landed on the runway at Noi Bai Airport on January 6th, 1996.
1996.
Yeah. 27 years to the day of the day my brother was shot down. And I felt that that was a very important sign, that it was a coincidence and not a coincidence, that the day of the most difficult news could possibly be the beginning of the new chapter.
Of the new chapter. Now, I understand that in 1986 he passed away. Is that right?
He did. He passed away 1 year and 1 day after we began PeaceTrees Vietnam. But I will say, his legacy lives on.
His legacy lives on. I mean, I believe that you carried on with his idea, and you started it together, and then you continued what he left behind.
Yes. And in Dong Ha, the town of Dong Ha, the Landmines Education Center is named in his honor.
Wow.
Which I think is a really good thing, that the children are coming to learn ideas of how to reduce accidents. It's a whole fostering of life, and I think that's very good.
So what did you, when back in 1985, Ray, what did you think when Geraldine and your son-in-law decided to start this initiative?
I'm the mother of a loss, but also I have all of the respect and trust in these two people, Geraldine and Dana. What their desire was to improve the relationship of two nations. No doubt in my mind that they could accomplish that. But it was with reluctance. I shared with you that I wasn't sure to go sit down in that office. I didn't say a lot about that to anybody. I kept that to myself, about my feelings, because one day I'd be pretty aggravated about that. And then the next day I'd think, well, no, wait a minute. Maybe if I just think about this. Well, when your family's involved in something and you feel you're in the outside of the circle, you need to take a look at yourself. And so that's what I did that day when she said, maybe I would like to get involved. Changed my life.
Definitely did. Turned you around.
I felt totally involved with this project ever since that day. And it was my pleasure to be involved in the office because it started on our little island of Bainbridge. That's where the office was to start with. And as it grew, as PeaceTrees has grown, so have I.
Now we'll talk more about this trip that you are all taking to Vietnam. Ray and also Geraldine and the delegation visited the PeaceTrees Friendship Village, which was established on a former landmine and bomb hotspot in Quang Tri Province. So we'll take a look at some footages from that trip in the following.